Hey, what's up? It's Michael. I'm going to put this on my story or something like that. Um, I was just informed today that I'm going to be discharged from this medical facility that I'm at. And by the grace of God, I'm able to go somewhere else that I haven't really been successful being there before, but there's something that's different, right? I'm working on a better tomorrow for all of Americans. And the reason for that is because we're not doing enough to solve certain problems in our country and our community. We go to work, we spend too much time on social media, we don't spend enough time with our kids, we don't teach our kids right from wrong, we don't separate them from the good and the bad, and we don't educate them on how dangerous drugs are, especially a drug that we have here in this community here in Phoenix, which is fentanyl. And fentanyl is everywhere, but we have fentanyl blues. They come in a little blue pill. It's got a little M on it, and you can get them for as cheap as $1. If you're only buying a couple, maybe $5 a piece. You buy 100, you get them for $1 a piece. Just depends on who you're talking to. But one is enough to kill you. And how do I know that to be a fact? Because I was already strung out on painkillers, and I got me a fistful of opiates, the fentanyl, and as a matter of fact, and I was taking a hit off that drug. I took 3 hits, and I was dead. Fortunately, a guy that I barely even knew, I just met, as a matter of fact, maybe 20, 30 minutes prior to this whole thing happening, had Narcan me, and if he didn't have that on him, if he wasn't prepared, I'd be dead. So, by the grace of God, I'm still here. Is that the reason I'm doing this? No. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to save the family. I want men and women of all ages to step up and do what they need to do to help their community. And some of us are overworked and greatly paid, overworked and underpaid. I've been both, and so I get it. And I never got a chance to deal with those things when I was so busy because, well, I was busy. But had somebody told me along the way, look, you gotta do you. Don't let your job do you. Don't let your family do you. You gotta do you every day of your life. And I agree with that. That's a statement that I'll make. Now that I've been sober for several months, now that I'm been qualified as what I do because I'm getting education in that area 3 times a week, soon to be 4 times a week, and it's my focus. So I do something called Let's Start Something, which is every day or once a week I'll come up with something and say, hey, today we're going to talk about something. Let's start the conversation about family. Let's start the conversation about friends. Let's start talking about relationships and drugs, homelessness, poverty, even being wealthy. There's lots of things that we can talk about. However, I'm trying to encourage each and every person that I talk to, including you watching this video, is to take up the platform, Let's Start Something, and then start the conversation about something that either bothers you or something that makes you truly happy, or a little bit of both. Talk about yourself, do interviews with people that have the same focus or same problem. That's what I do. I haven't done any interviews for a few months only because I was asked not to. Maybe legal reasons might be for them, they didn't want to have any legal recourse. So now I'll be leaving here tomorrow. I've been discharged from this place, so at 2 p.m. tomorrow I got to go to my new residence, and I don't think I'm going to have any trouble there doing what I need to do. And I'm hoping that when I get there, I have several people that will be interested in doing interviews. That's what's important. Getting a like-minded group around you is very good for support, and it has been a great deal. It has definitely, educated me. It's made me feel better. It's definitely given me the means and the desire to do what I do. And look, one day you just wake up and you're tired of all of it. You're tired of being accused of this. You're tired of being quoted as this person or that person. And it's only you, myself, can step up and go, you know what? I'm not buying that crap anymore. That's not who I am. Drug addiction is an illness. I don't care if it's pot. I don't care if it's opiates or methamphetamines or any kind of stimulant. I don't care if it is helping you with anxiety or depression, whatever. If it's taken the wrong way, it can change the way you think, the way you feel, your physical makeup, and everything in between. Fentanyl did that to me. changed my body chemistry, changed the way I thought, the way I slept, the way I ate, the way I felt. When I came to an end of it, 2 weeks after, about maybe a week or week or two afterwards, I became extremely unstable. I was hysterical. I was scared to death. One, because I knew if I didn't do what I needed to do, I'd end up back on the streets and I'd probably die this time. So, you never know how many chances you'll ever get. And I've had severe accidents in my life. I've had a lot of close calls, and I've died at least twice. So, the first time I was a kid, and I was like, whatever. I always thought, people, especially men, think that they're, 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and they can handle any situation. And they come off as if they can, and the reality of it is they can't. We're all human beings. And so that's what I go through. I go through that whole process of my life and other people's lives. I interview them, and what I'm trying to do is get the information out about, homelessness, fentanyl, other types of drugs. Not everybody's into the same thing, but this particular drug is destroying our streets. And if it's gotten this far, it's going to get even further, and it's going to be even cheaper, and there's going to be more people dying. Your kids, your dad, your mother, your grandparents, people of all ages will be touched by this drug, in my opinion, by the year 2025, 2030. And that's because we're not doing anything to stop it. We can't. But what we can do is educate our kids, educate the family, educate the public, and provide services for them to either prevent them from going on that path or to get them off that path. Now, there are lots of things called sober living communities, 90-day commitments, AA, NA, CA. There's lots of different programs out there, but the problem, I've been into all of them, so I'm going to tell you what I honestly believe. That we've allowed the public and even our own psyche to tell ourselves that we're bad, that we don't fit in, that we're pieces of shit and things like that. That's not true. The guilt and shame that you feel from getting high and not being able to stop is natural only because the people around you would judge you for it. And because you're scared of getting judged and you're scared of what could happen, you're not going to do the right thing and find help. And if you know that the help is out there where people honestly care or are compassionate and they're willing to work with you at any level, whether it be severe, non-severe, outpatient, inpatient, it doesn't matter. I think those of us that have been doing it a while know that we struggle with the perspective people have. And so, like, if you end up in a hospital and you need severe treatment and they don't know that you're strung out, but it's not, they don't have enough time to P-test you, they don't have enough time to interview, and you go straight into surgery, they could kill you because that can counteract with some of the drugs that they're going to give you to put you on that table. It happened to me once. They had to bring me back. Matter of fact, that's 3 times I've legitimately died that I know of. So, what I'm trying to say is that what I do is to help the community, help myself, help people around me. There are lots of avenues to find help, but the biggest one that we need to come to is understanding and being able to love one another and appreciate one another. Look, we live here in the United States. 20 million Americans suffer from alcoholism and drug abuse, depression, self-abuse, things like that. Only 10% of them ever get the help that they need or deserve. And I think one of the biggest reasons why is because we can't get them to come out of the shadows. Like Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, it's anonymous, right? You don't want anybody to know that you got a problem. You don't want your employer to know. You may not want your wife to know. You may not want your husband to know, your kids. That's okay. But if we can change the perspective on it, then it's okay to be open and honest about it, because then people will be able to be more compassionate and find you help that you need. And it starts with you. You've got to be able to convince yourself that you're worth it. And you are. You're not an accident. God didn't put you here by mistake. I don't care what you believe in, whether it be evolution or Christianity or anything like that. We have evidence to support all kinds of different things, but we have all kinds of theories that don't support the evidence. So what are you going to do? But we're human beings. I can promise you that all of us had to go through puberty. All of us had to go through some sort of schooling. All of us had to get our first job. All of us had to get a license. All of us had to suffer disappointment. All of us had to be crushed by our first love. All of us had to crush with our first love. we all go through the same shit. I don't care if you're Chinese, Mexican, Japanese, Polish, Russian, American. It doesn't matter. We all go through the same stuff. So we got a lot more in common than we think we don't. Despite the color we may have, despite our upbringing, despite whether or not we had two parents, one parent, or no parents, we all go through the same shit. So we can look at each other and go, man, we got a lot in common. Let's help one another. Right now in this country, a lot of things are happening. We got inflation. We're headed to a really bad recession if we don't figure it out. I'm not going to give my opinion about the president, but listen, if the man was the right man for the job, we wouldn't be in the position that we were at. Think about 3 or 4 years ago when the economy was getting so much better and we're making records as to how well things were going, and all of a sudden we change. We have a change of leadership, and what can you say? So is it his fault directly? Of course not. There are a lot of selfish individuals out there who do what they do because they're trying to survive, and I'm not making excuses for them. What I'm saying is that we can help prevent those things from happening by working together and sharing information. So the information I'm wanting to share with you now is be careful on any media platform that you ever use. Don't offer up or allow anybody to ask you for money. It's not appropriate. If you've never met them, they're not your friend, you don't take them out to dinner, never had a cup of coffee with them, don't do it. Don't do it. It's just not appropriate. And people who are willing to ask you for those things have asked other people for those things. And some of them, in my opinion, develop a network of people who work in maybe like boiler rooms, because I used to run a marketing company. And this is a form of marketing. You find somebody, you find their weakness. Hey, I'm just a lonely man or a lonely woman looking for my better half. It can start that simple, and they come in and they promise you the world, tell you that they love you, and the next thing you know, I need $500 because I'm starving and my grandma's dying. It's ridiculous, right? So what I'm telling you is just be careful on your social media platforms. I deal with a lot of fake and phony people, but I'm willing to do that to push my agenda. This is my agenda. Let's help each other. Let's figure out a way to survive. Because the more people we have that are good, and the more people we have that we understand and we can work with, the better off we are. We were never meant to be alone. That's why we're not. There was a study done with rats. It's actually got its own name, but I'm going to explain to you how it works. They took one rat and separated him from the other rats, or her, not sure if it was male or female, but they put him in a cage, and he had water and he had morphine. He would go to the water, most of the time, but eventually he started going to that morphine, and sooner or later he stopped going to the water, and it was just morphine. So rather than let that rat die, they weaned him off of it, and they put him in another cage with several other rats, and still gave him the opportunity to take the morphine and the water. A couple days later, he wasn't taking the morphine anymore. It was just water, and he was hanging out with his buddies. Why? Because he was accepted, one, by his community, which was the other rats, and he needed them more than he needed that morphine. So if you push somebody out of your life and make them truly alone, either they're going to come to fruition, and they're going to, the knowledge of what has happened has come to fruition, and they're going to get help, and they're going to be okay, or they're going to die. Chances are they're going to die because they don't have the people that love them and appreciate them around anymore. And you may think you have to do that to protect yourself, and that may be appropriate. There are some people who just can't handle being high. I was one of them several different times. I acted in ways I should have never acted. I destroyed things I never should have destroyed. I was tough on my mom when I was a teenager because I got hooked on crack, but I haven't touched that stuff in over 30 years. So what I'm saying is that, all of us to get used to taking a certain substance or doing something to take our mind off the things that we need to take care of. Not accepting our emotions, not dealing with our emotions, whether it be sadness, depression, other things. We're taking medication to solve our problems instead of solving the problem. Same thing happens with opiates. We'll let people be on methadone for up to 14, 15 years rather than going, look, you have a year to do this, and this is how we're going to do it. By the end of the year, you either be off of it or you're going to have to find another program. That's the way it should be. Nobody should ever just give in to something and let it control your life. It's not appropriate, it's not fair, it's not honest, and it's certainly not going to be something that we're going to accept in this country, I guarantee you that. So let's start helping people. Let's start talking to one another. Let's keep each other motivated. I'm going to cut this off at 15 minutes. I'm going to load this video again. I'm out of here tomorrow. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. God bless all of you. Thank you for your support.